The inner temple. Then he brought me to the sanctuary, and he measured the side pillars. 6 cubits wide on each side was the width of the side pillar. The width of the entrance was 10 cubits and the sides of the entrance were 5 cubits on each side. He also measured the length of the sanctuary, 40 cubits, and the width, 20 cubits. Then he went inside and measured each side pillar of the doorway, 2 cubits, and the doorway, 6 cubits high, and the width of the doorway, 7 cubits. And he measured its length, 20 cubits, and the width, 20 cubits, before the sanctuary, and he said to me, "This is the most holy place." Then he measured the wall of the temple, 6 cubits, and the width of the side chambers, 4 cubits, all around the house on every side. The side chambers were in 3 stories one above another, and 30 in each story, and the side chambers extended to the wall which stood on their inward side all around, so that they could be attached, but not be attached to the wall of the temple itself. And the side chambers surrounding the temple were wider at each successive story. Because the structure surrounding the temple went upward by stages on all sides of the temple, for that reason the width of the temple increased as it went higher, and so one went up from the lowest story to the highest by way of the second story. I saw also that the house had a raised platform all around. The foundations of the side chambers were a full rod of 6 long cubits in height. The thickness of the outer wall of the side chambers was 5 cubits. But the free space between the side chambers belonging to the temple and the outer chambers was 20 cubits in width around the temple on every side. The doorways of the side chambers toward the free space consisted of one doorway toward the north, and another doorway toward the south, and the width of the free space was 5 cubits all around. The building that was in front of the separate area at the side toward the west was 70 cubits wide, and the wall of the building was 5 cubits thick all around, and its length was 90 cubits. Then he measured the temple, 100 cubits long. The separate area with the building and its walls were also 100 cubits long. Also the width of the front of the temple and that of the separate areas along the east side totaled 100 cubits. And he measured the length of the building along the front of the separate area behind it, with a gallery on each side, 100 cubits. He also measured the inner sanctuary and the porches of the courtyard. The thresholds, the latticed windows, and the galleries all around their 3 stories, opposite the threshold, were paneled with wood all around, and from the ground to the windows, but the windows were covered over the entrance, and to the inner house, and on the outside, and on all the wall all around inside and outside, by measurement. It was carved with cherubim and palm trees, and a palm tree was between cherub, and every cherub had 2 faces. A human face toward the palm tree on one side and a young lion's face toward the palm tree on the other side. They were carved on all the house all around. From the ground to above the entrance cherubim and palm trees were carved, as well as on the wall of the sanctuary. The doorposts of the sanctuary were square. As for the front of the inner sanctuary, the appearance of one doorpost was like that of the other. The altar was of wood, 3 cubits high, and its length 2 cubits, its corners, its base, and its sides were of wood. And he said to me, "This is the table that is before the Lord." The sanctuary and the inner sanctuary each had a double door. Each of the doors had 2 leaves, 2 swinging leaves, 2 leaves for one door and 2 leaves for the other. Also there were carved on them, on the doors of the main room, cherubim and palm trees like those carved on the walls, and there was a threshold of wood on the front of the porch outside. And there were latticed windows and palm trees on one side and on the other, on the sides of the porch. The same were on the side chambers of the house and the thresholds.